Hi, and welcome to another HC Media Group training course. So today I'm going to teach you about how to coach your team and what method you should use. So in the next few slides, I've got some really simple steps that will enable you to coach your team effectively. My name is Joe Hamilton, and I'm an award-winning author in business. And by that, I mean I've got a book out there on a wonderful Amazon. It's a book about digital marketing, which I'm sure you've probably gathered. And it's called, wait for it, Cake. Cake, I hear you say. Why call it cake? So for me, I just wanted to have a play and make a fun title and something that would conjure up everything that the book is. So I called it Cake because it's got all the ingredients rolled into one that you're going to need to be an exceptional marketeer. And that's why I called it Cake. So as I say, just a bit of fun on the title, really. Really is a good book, a really good read if you want to find out a little bit more about digital marketing, the search engine optimization, etc., and how to become successful at it. Then by all means, search it out on Amazon. As I say, it's called Cake, and it really is a good read. In addition to that, I'm also the managing director of our business HC Media Group. We're the fastest growing marketing agency in Essex. We're based in Colchester in Essex, started the business in 2018. We moved into our offices in April 19, which is not far from the castle in Colchester. And since moving into our office, the whole environment has enabled us to really grow from strength to strength. And since moving into our offices, as I say, we're the fastest growing marketing agency now in Essex. So something I'm really proud about. Before then, I've managed over 200 retail stores. Looking at business management, so everything from improving culture within a store or even within a business. Motivating and developing teams, moving into a little bit of HR around recruitment and retention, and more importantly, the finance aspect. So introducing effective and efficient practices, again, into stores, into businesses, to drive the overall bottom line profitability of that particular store or that particular business. My specialism is in growing businesses through their finances and through business management. And because of that, I want to share that knowledge, that experience that I have had in successfully developing other businesses, and wanted to share it to you through the medium of coaching through HC Media Group. In addition, I have worked with several high street names, household names that you may be familiar with. So Whitbread, for instance, you may be familiar with those. Whitbread Inns, gosh, many years ago I started off with Whitbread Inns, a really good company to work for. Moved in then to Thresher. So Thresher were the biggest off-license chain in the UK at that time. And I started off in a store in Romford. There was 10 of us, which soon became a flagship store and was one of the most profitable branches in the organisation. So something that we were really proud of. And because of that, I wanted to share my experiences, be able to share my knowledge through other branches within that organisation. Because of that, I was promoted to being an area manager, looking after 25 or 28 stores within Thresher, before moving into a regional role, which was again then looking after area managers. But something I really enjoyed and was really successful at. And because of that, I wanted to share that with perhaps other businesses out there in the UK, and I moved across then to the cooperative. So the cooperative, really good business to work for. I'm sure you're familiar with the brand. I was an area manager with them for several years. And then just recently, I've been with Well. So I've been with Well for 11 years, and Well is a respected pharmacy chain with stores up and down the country. I had 25 stores in and around Essex and North London as an area manager for Well. 260 staff, really successful branches, really profitable area. And because of that, I thought, you know what? Now I think it's time. It's time for me to move on and perhaps look and put all that experience that I gleaned throughout the years and start my own business. And hence HC Media Group was born. But not only that, as well as working for household names, I've also worked for several smaller businesses. So again, on a consultancy basis, where a business would get in touch and ask me to go in and take a look at the culture within their businesses. What can we do to motivate and develop the teams? So they can be the best they can be, and look at it again, introducing effective and efficient practices. And again, all have revolved around driving the bottom line profit of those companies. So something I really, really enjoyed. And as I say, working with them on a consultancy basis. So if you would like to get in touch with me directly about anything that you've heard, or just want to chat, then by all means, please do. Please just email me at team@hcmediagroup.co.uk, at team@hcmediagroup.co.uk. I would be delighted to talk to you. So on with the training. And as we said, we're going to take a look at how do I coach my team? How do I do it successfully? And what method should I use? So I use a very, very simple method that's been really successful for me in the past, and it's called the GROW model. So some of you may be familiar with this. So GROW stands for goal, reality, options, and will. And again, what we'll do is with just those 4 phrases, we'll look at that in a little bit more detail. But the model it's one of the most common coaching tools out there. And the power of the GROW coaching model is that it leads to clearly defined end results through 4 simple phrases, which is goal, reality, options, and the will. And the coachee is personally active in identifying the problems and generating the ideas for the solution themselves. So you as the coach just has to make sure that you facilitate it. And that means that anything that comes out of the coaching session has a lot better chance of being achieved because the individual has actually come up with the idea. As I say, the GROW model, it's one of the most common coaching tools out there. And as I say, I just want to give you a little bit more detail and maybe what some of the questions are that you need to ask to make it successful. And the beauty about working with the GROW model is that you don't need to be an expert if your coachee's specific situation. So you don't need to fully understand the situation. You just need to be able to coach them. And the GROW coaching model offers a framework with some general questions, which we'll go through in a bit more in a bit more detail. And the questions are just there to elicit what the goals are, identify some of the obstacles, agree what some of the options are, and more importantly, then be able to put a plan in place to be able to achieve the overall end result. So the model is very, very simple, as I say. It's just 4 key words, and the first of which is goal. So you do need to identify and agree what the overall goal is going to be, and these may be short-term goals or may even be long-term goals. The reality, in the reality, and again, we'll explore these in a lot more detail, but the reality is what you're trying to do is you're trying to find out exactly where the individual is now and what some of the difficulties are on those being able to achieve some of their goals. You then move into look at some of the options. So again, drawing out from the coachee, what other options are there out there to help you achieve your goal? Before finally moving on to the will. So the will is around getting commitment. So getting commitment from the coachee as to what they're going to do different to make sure that they achieve their goal. So as I say, again, we'll explore that now in just a little bit more detail. And the first of which is step 1 is the goal. you need to define the goal first, and this needs to be SMART. So by SMART, I mean, and again, forgive me for those of you who understand what SMART is. So SMART is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timed. And there's several different questions that you need to ask to get to understand what the goal is. So some examples of questions to define what the goal is. And again, for this whole example, I've just used it that this individual is looking at social media training. So the first question would be, what's important to you when it comes to training? So that'll be the question for the individual. And they'll say to you, oh gosh, Joe, I really wish I had the time to be able to complete the training, because if I had, it would make my life a hell of a lot easier. And what will reaching the goal give you? So, well, Joe, reaching the goal is going to make life so much easier for me, and plus I'll get a pay rise at the end of it. So, what do you want to achieve in your training? So, I want to achieve it before the end of October, so as in preparation before Christmas time. And so how will you know you've reached your goal? Well, I'll know I've reached my goal because I'll have taken my exam and I'll be fully qualified. How will you know the problem has been solved? Well, I'll know the problem has been solved because I will have achieved all of my training, and I'll have done it within a time scale. So this is around identifying the goal. And in this instance, I've just used a lady's name, Jane. So Jane wants to complete all of her social media training by the 23rd of October. So that's what the whole idea of the goal is. So you've identified it was training, and she wants to complete all of her social media training by the 23rd of October. So we now move in then to step 2. So we've identified the goal, then move into step 2. So all of the time that you're doing this, the coachee needs to be writing down, the answers to these questions for you. So step 2 is becoming aware of the actual situation. And your role here is to stimulate some self-evaluation and identify the obstacles. Because we know what the goal is, we just need to identify what the obstacles are. And again, keep focused and summarize and repeat your understanding of what some of the answers are. But it's important that you get the coachee to write down the answers. So example questions to discover, where in reality are we now? So don't forget, this is about training. So Jane is worried about training, and she's worried about making sure that she completes all of her training before the 23rd of October. So a question that you may kick off with is, so Jane, tell me, what's happening to you now? Oh gosh, Joe, I just don't see the time to be able to do the training, and because of that, I'm really worried that I'm not going to hit my deadline of the 23rd of October. So what, when, with whom, and how often? So again, these are questions that you need to identify. So tell me a little bit about then, why you seem to have no time to be able to do your training. Well, I've got so much work on at the moment, and a lot of the time I just can't seem to fit it in. So, well, what's the result of that? Well, the result of that is I sort of lose a little bit of focus, and I'm really struggling with the time element to be able to squeeze in all of the training. So you then need to identify, so what is this training a problem, or why is this training a problem? So the answer will be, well, the training is not a problem. It's the timing, and it's making sure that I have, help and support out there from someone in the office to make sure that I'm on track to be able to hit my deadline by the 23rd. Okay, so give me some examples of this problem. Well, Oh, Joe, sometimes I feel a bit embarrassed to go and ask Lexi to give me some help. I know she's qualified in social media, but sometimes she's too busy, and I don't want to ask her. So again, get Jane to write down all of these. Um, so, okay, Jane. So tell me, so what's been going wrong so far? Well, well, Joe, it's like this. You know, I know I have to do a certain amount of training every day, but what happens is I get to the end of the day, it comes to 4 o'clock. I know we leave at 5, but at 4 o'clock I pick up all the cups because it's my job to make sure that I keep all the desks tidy. I bring all the cups out to the kitchen. By the time I wash up and put everything away and come back in, it's 5 o'clock and it's time to go. So again, get her to write down all of these answers. Um, so okay, Jane. So how do you manage to fail? So well, I fail purely because I suppose you know, I don't manage my time really effectively, and because of that, I'm probably just, as I say, just a bit embarrassed maybe to ask for some help. So again, get her to write all of this down. So tell me, Jane, is this always a problem, or are there situations in which this isn't a problem? Well, yeah. A couple of times I've managed to do the training, and I managed to squeeze it in, which was excellent, and I felt really really good about it. Okay, Jane. So tell me, so what actually went well? What did you do differently? Um, well, Joe, it's simple really. Um, there wasn't at the end of the day at 4 o'clock, so there wasn't a lot of washing up to do or anything on that particular day. So I used that time rather than having to tidy up and do all the cups as I normally do. I used that time to get my training done for that hour, and because of that, I managed to achieve it. Okay, Jane. So that seems to have made a difference for you. And what have you done so far? Well, so far I've managed to do a little bit of training. I've managed to do some at home just to try and catch up. But I'd really like to be able to do all of my training whilst I'm at work. Okay. So now that you've done step two, so you understand where the reality is, where it lies, and we've identified here that it's around time and time management. But you cannot, as the coach, you cannot tell them that it's about time. The individual, the coachee, has to come up with that solution themselves. So that's step two. So again, don't forget the coachee has written down all of the answers to your questions. So step three is around then exploring the options. So here we're trying to generate ideas that can contribute to solving the problem. And again, try to start creative sort of blue sky thinking, brainstorming ideas, and get them to write these down and evaluate each one. So as they write them down, just get them to evaluate it. And you can offer suggestions at this point, but not solutions. It's really important. So don't forget. So we're still Jane is still on social media training. Okay, and she's worried about getting the call completed by the 23rd. Okay, Jane. So what else could you do? Well, as I say, Joe, I have been working from home a bit to try and get all the training done, but ideally, I do want to do this in work. So, what I could do is uh, I could manage my time just a little bit better, to be honest, and maybe stop talking when I'm out doing washing up the cups in the kitchen, for instance, because it shouldn't really take me an hour, but a lot of the time it does. Okay, okay, Jane. So, what would you do if the obstacle didn't stop you? So the obstacle being you're saying that time seems to be the obstacle here. So what would you do if time didn't stop you? Oh my God, Joe, if time didn't stop me, what I'd do is I'd make sure that I scheduled in every single day, so between 4 and 5 o'clock, or 3 and 4 o'clock, so an hour every day to make sure that I caught up with um, with with my training. Okay, Jane. Well, that's good. Um, so imagine you already reached your goal. So imagine that you have completed all your training by the 23rd of October. How how did you do it? Oh gosh, yeah, in an ideal world, Joe, what I'd like to do is be, as I say, maybe get someone else to wash up the cups, for instance, or I need to free up my time a little bit so as I have an hour a day that I can spend on my training, and I would do that on a daily basis. I'd also use some of those hours to be able to work with somebody else, so someone like Lexi, who's really really good at social media, so as I could understand it firsthand and understand it in a bit more detail. Okay, okay, and so don't forget, guys, all this time, Jane's writing all of this down. Um, so okay, and so what happens? What if this obstacle wasn't there anymore? So the obstacle being time. Don't forget. Oh my gosh, Joe, if time wasn't an issue, I'd probably have this completed before the 23rd of October, which would be absolutely superb. Okay, so Jane, tell me, so what else do you need to reach your goal? Well, to be able to reach my goal, Joe, I'd really like to be able to, as I say, have an hour a day from Monday through to Friday, so as I could put the training in place, and not just the training, but sort of have hands-on experience and maybe spend some time with Lexi, as I say, and maybe with Izzy also as well, because I know she has done that training recently, and perhaps I could get some tips from her. Okay, okay, that's really good, Jane. And where can you get it? Where can you where can you get this information? Well, I could get the information quite simply by just speaking to them and just having the confidence. I know they're busy. I know the girls are really busy, but I could just have a conversation with them and say, look, could you spare me half an hour of your time and maybe book an appointment maybe between 4 and 4:30, and again that would give me a half an hour with some doing some practical training. Okay, Jane. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I love that. So, what criteria will you use to evaluate this option? Um, the criteria. Um, I think what I'd like to do is to be able to have a conversation with Lexi. I know she is a social media specialist, and just take some time out and just have a conversation with her, so as I can understand in more detail what I need to do, and perhaps arrange with Lexi maybe for half an hour every week just to evaluate or review my performance to see if I'm going to be on target or not. Okay. That's really good, Jane. Love that. That's a really really good option. And what are the pros and cons of this option then? Well, so if I go down this route, so for instance, if I get Lexi to review my performance, I think the benefits will be that I'll have a much more structured training program. I'll start to feel a lot better about myself because it's scheduled and I'm going to hit my target. Um, and as far as the cons are concerned, I can't really see a con apart from the fact, of course, that I just need to go and speak to her. So just pluck up the courage to go and speak to her. So that's step three. There are all of the options. So there's loads of different options there for Jane to take, and she's written down all of these. So the idea then is around the step four. So when is she going to do this? So here we're looking to generate the choice of maybe just one option and create a concrete plan of action. So Jane has written down all of these ideas, and what you're looking to try and get to is to get to one statement that will enable her to complete her task. So some examples to generate, uh, the will. So what exactly will you do then to reach your goal? So again, this is a question for Jane. Well, Joe, what I'm going to do is I'm going to manage my time more effectively, and I'm going to ensure that I set aside an hour a day to do my training. And I'm also going to speak to Lexi to see how I can prioritize some of the workload. Okay, that's really, really good. And which of these options will you take? Well, well, Joe, I'm going to take the option. There is loads of options there that we just discussed, but I think I'm going to take the option around making sure that I do set aside 1 hour, so to manage my time more effectively. And if it means that I haven't got to do the cups from 4 through till 5 o'clock between now and October, perhaps I could speak to Izzy and see perhaps if she would be able to help me out and for her to do the cups and to take them out, and that would give me an hour to be able to do some of my training. Okay, Jane, and so tell me, so what concrete steps can you take now? So from today, what could you do? Well, Joe, I think what I'll do is, I think in the first place, I need to speak to Lexi and see if perhaps she'd be willing to spare me half an hour or even an hour a week to be able, so as I could shadow her and see what she does, and perhaps arrange with her for half an hour every Friday, for instance, that she reviews my performance and prioritizes some of my workload. Okay, that's good. So you could do that. You could do that now, Jane. Then I take it. Oh yes, yes, yes. What steps come after that then? Well, Joe, after that, what I'd be looking at is I'd be looking to set up a weekly review for half an hour, as I say, just so the expert like Lexi can make sure that what I'm doing is correct and that I'm on the right track. Okay, and are all the obstacles taken into account? So the obstacles are around your time. Well, Joe, yes, I think so, because I think if I just ask for some help and support, I'm sure the guys in the office would be able to help and support me. And again, more importantly, that will free me up my hour that I need on a daily basis to be able to complete my training. Really good. So how will you overcome your obstacle? So, well, Joe, I'm going to overcome this obstacle. So the obstacle is on time, because I'm just going to be more. I'm just going to be more efficient. I'm going to schedule my day much more productively, and because of that, then of course that'll free me up an hour a day from Monday through till Friday. Okay, Jane. Well, that sounds really, really good. So how motivated are you? So on a scale of 1 to 10, on a scale of 1 to 10 to go for this option, how motivated are you? Well, Joe, I'm probably about an 8. Oh, okay. So what do you need to do to go to a 10? How can you get there? What can you do to get to a 10? Well, I'm only an 8 because I haven't spoken to Lexi yet, and I don't know how to approach it. And I think perhaps if I had the confidence to be able to go up to her and talk to her about my training course, then I certainly would be a 10. Okay, so what can you do differently then to be able to give you the confidence to speak to Lexi? Wow. It's really she's she is my friend. I know she's really, really busy sometimes, and because of that, I don't want to burden her. But in all fairness, we do. We walk to the bus together, so I could have a conversation with her today and see if she would be interested, or see if she'd be up for helping me and supporting me. Okay, and if you did that, how motivated would you be then on a scale of 1 to 10 that you could go down this route? Oh gosh, Joe, I'd be a 10. Okay, so will this plan get you to your goal? Oh, crikey, yes. Yeah, absolutely. The plan will get me to my goal because, as I say, I will have 5 hours a week. In actual fact, I'd probably finish 2 days prior to the 23rd of October if I could, or when I put in place an hour a day. Okay, and will it solve your underlying problem? Well, yes, John, but the underlying problem is around timing. So, crikey, yes, if I'm more organised and more time, or manage my time more effectively, then of course it'll take away all of that problem. And more importantly, then, Jane, so how will you celebrate success? Oh my gosh, so on the 23rd of October, I'm going to bring in a massive cake with candles on it so as I can share between the whole team. Okay, Jane, that's great. Okay, guys. So back to reality. So that's step 4 done. So now, of course, final step. The final step is, and here we're generating a plan. So you've spoke about all of the grow models. So you know what our goal is. You know where she, you know where she is in reality. You know what the opportunities are. More importantly, she's told you what the opportunities are, and you've looked at how you're going to do it. Now you just need to get Jane to write the plan. So you don't write the plan for her; she writes the plan. So, so in this section, we're looking at to agree the overall goal and get the employee to write this down. So Jane will be writing down on a piece of paper for you there and then. I will complete all of my social media training by the 23rd of October. And from today, I will seek support from Lexi to help me understand what's required. I will schedule 1 hour of my time each day to complete uninterrupted training. I'll delegate some of my workload to ensure I have 1 hour a day training. I will seek help from Lexi in the office, who specialises in social media, and spend time with her on a Tuesday and a Thursday as part of my training. I'll also arrange a review with Lexi every Friday to assess my progress. And I'll achieve all of my training by the 23rd of October. Hooray! And I'm going to celebrate on the 23rd of October by having a cake and candle for everyone in the office. But this is what Jane has committed to. After going through all of your grow model and your coaching, this is what Jane has agreed to do. And then the only thing that you need to do is just to put in a review date. So you're going to put in a review date in 2 weeks' time. So in 2 weeks' time, you'll be going through all of what Jane has agreed to. And if everything is going according to plan, then she's on track for finishing her training by the 23rd of October. If, for instance, anything falls out of that, you then go back into the grow model again and understand why, for instance, she hasn't achieved what she said that she was going to achieve by putting that statement together. And it's as simple as that. It really, really is. So in summary, you need to stick with the questions. So stick with the questions that I've outlined here and don't come up with the solutions. The solution has got to come from the coachee. Yes, you can make suggestions by all accounts, but if you come up with the solutions, and 9 times out of 10, they will be a 6 or a 7 as far as our motivation is concerned. So if they come up with a suggestion, you're more likely for them to buy into it 100%. And get the coachee to write down the possible solutions. Not you, the coachee. So the coachee has got to write down all of the possible solutions whilst they're having that conversation with you. And get the employee to identify the solution. Avoid the temptation to solve the problem. It is so easy to slip into tell mode, but really you've got to sit on your hands. The coachee has got to come up with the solution themselves. Check the coachee's motivation. If it's at 10, happy days, absolutely great. That means they've bought into it 100%. If it's not, then go back and find out why it's not a 10 and what can you do to change that objection to make it a 10. And again, the coachee is to come up with a SMART action plan. So a SMART action plan, as we've seen in the previous slide, on how they're going to achieve their goal. And get them to do that with you at that moment and document it. because that's their commitment, and that's where you'll be able to hold somebody to account. But again, agree a review date, and that could be, as I say, in a week, it could be in a fortnight, it could be in a month. But agree that with the coachee, because then they're more likely to make sure that everything that they have committed to will get completed. And try it on yourself. Self-coaching, honestly, try using the Grow model on yourself. And to improve your performance and develop sort of a roadmap of your personal success, you can use the Grow model on yourself. Again, identify your specific goals, assess the current situation, list all the options that you have, and finally take steps towards and write down how you're going to achieve some specific goals for yourself. And it really, really does work. If you need to talk to me in more detail about the subject that I've just been teaching you, then by all means, please do. Just please email me at team@hcmediagroup.co.uk. That's team@hcmediagroup.co.uk. I'd be delighted to talk to you. I hope you've enjoyed this part of the course. I've been Joe Hamilton. Thank you for listening.